Hello, everyone. It's Linda, Chief Exec of Together. We are heading towards the end of Mental Health Awareness Week, and the theme that we chose as a charity was physical well-being and the impact that that can have on our mental health and emotional well-being. And there's been many stories that have been shared during the week of what has been happening around the organisation on that theme. So when I was thinking about the physical activities that I undertake that might benefit my mental well-being, one of the top ones is walking my dogs. I have to do that, otherwise they bark relentlessly at me. But it's also one of the things I enjoy the most doing. It gets me out. Particularly first thing in the morning. I'm an early riser, so I can be out and there's no one around. I'm filling my lungs full of fresh air, sort of, when you live in London. I'm listening to bird song, I'm watching my dogs mess around, and I am walking, and I try to walk quite fast. And it's really enjoyable, and I absolutely feel myself setting up my day, relaxing into my day, being aware of things around me. I also like doing yoga. I'm an all or nothing yoga student, so I either do an hour's full-on practice or I don't do anything at all. And I'm slightly going through a not doing anything at all phase. But I know how important that is for me to help my anxieties, my stress. So I've set myself a task as a result of this Mental Health Awareness Week to get back into my yoga, but also to find a practice that I can incorporate into my day that doesn't have to be an hour of me in Lycra. So physical well-being is really important because when things don't go quite so well, it creates all sorts of worries. So recently, and I'm happy to share a personal story, is I had a head MRI because I was suffering some unusual headaches and dizzy spells, and I'm just not someone that normally has either of those things really. And what I wanted to do was understand, is there anything structural going on in my brain? And that was really important from understanding my physical health, because I think we don't think enough about how our physical well-being and our mental and emotional well-being kind of interconnect. Well, the good news is that I've been told recently I have an unremarkable brain. That's good news because there's nothing odd going on in there. But what was interesting is to be told that the consultant could see little things happening in my brain that meant I could be doing better by doing more cardiovascular exercise. Isn't that interesting? And another interesting fact is that 20% of our blood that gets pumped from our heart goes to our brain. And the more that we get into our brain, the better it is for us. So you can, and then we also know that physical exercise produces lots of endorphins around our body and in our brain and helps us feel better, manage life stresses better, helps us sleep. So whilst it started off as a kind of a bit of a concern, I've found out something interesting about how I need to improve some of my kind of physical activity. Hasn't told me why I've got headaches and dizzy spells, but they're getting slightly better, so I'm not worried about them. So I think there are some barriers that we encounter in communities and society that impact my physical well-being and maybe other people. So I think there is a big pressure that exercise and physical well-being has to be something like a 10K park run, or you go to the gym 3 times a week, or you take up boxing. It absolutely doesn't have to be that for me anyway. It has to be something that I find enjoyable. that I can incorporate into my day. I am not a runner and I will never be a runner. So there is no point anyone telling me that to get my cardiovascular activity up, to go for a run, because that's just not going to happen. So what I do is I do things like, I take the stairs, not the lift. I don't use banisters when I go up the stairs so that I'm properly using my kind of stomach muscles and my legs. And I think there's sometimes too much pressure that's put on us, on everybody, that somehow, our, making the most of our physical well-being has to be something expensive or costly, difficult to access. And in fact, there's loads of stuff that you can do around you, and you don't have to compare yourself to anyone else. And I think, again, that's really important that I do stuff that's within my limits, and it has to be of interest to me. Otherwise, quite frankly, I'm not going to keep it up. Hence the reason that all my New Year's resolutions around gym membership has never resulted in me joining a gym. And finally, I just want to give a plug for our third Henry Hawkins lecture, which is going to be taking place later in the year in Norwich. And we've decided to burst out of London, seeing as we are a charity that has services all over the country. And the theme of our Henry Hawkins lecture is going to be physical well-being and the positive impacts on our mental well-being. And I'm really, really pleased about that because, as I've been saying, it's so important that we try and look after our physical health in whatever way we can within whatever life we are leading. So we are really hoping to see as many staff and people using our services there, and other supporters of Together. And we are also hoping that we can live stream it so that we can include as many people across the charity as we can in the event, which is always a great celebration of the positive impacts of how we live our life on our mental well-being. See you soon.